Hey, it's Cap's CarCast. Today we're talking about why your talent acquisition sucks. Let's drive.
Get down. Get down. Get down.
In episode, I think 14, just the other day, we talked, I'll throw that up over here, we talked about one of the key things you could do to protect culture, and it had to do with how you bring people into your organization. But after a couple of conversations sparked by that episode, a lot of people asked, hey, but what if my process isn't set up to interview for culture? And then it struck me, the truth of the matter is the talent acquisition process is really, it's awful by many organizations today. But why is that? Well, there's a couple reasons. One, I think we are suffering from the fatigue of the late century and early century talent acquisition systems. So what do I mean by that? Well, not to get into too much detail, but as the process became automated, the most important element was efficiency. And efficiency was gained by parsing resumes into a database that were then searchable for keywords. As a matter of fact, you still read articles today about how you can set up your resume to beat talent acquisition systems. Well, now how crazy is that, right? So you're going to minimize who you see based upon this so-called efficiency. Now, not to say that there wasn't a necessity for that level of efficiency, there certainly was, but we're well beyond that today, and the nature and the standard kind of flow of data today expands well beyond just efficiency. And as a matter of fact, it's a much more engaging process. So two things. How do I identify whether or not my talent acquisition is horrible? And then the second thing is, what can I do to improve it? The first is easy. If apply to your company's jobs at every level and count the number of steps, the number of clicks and the number of steps. Back in my software days, that used to be a big thing, is get to something within a certain number of clicks. Within one click is the holy grail. An action was one click away. Well, do the same kind of thing here. You have to, if your talent acquisition process, and there's one, I won't name the system, but there's one late century, early century talent acquisition system purchased by one of the big ERPs in the last 5 or 8 years or so that is absolutely awful. It serves not the candidate, it serves the organization. There's probably about, I want to say like at least 6 very intensive steps, not clicks, but full page steps, and it's not mobile. And it doesn't serve the candidate. Okay, so that's the first thing. You know what? Seriously, stop what you're doing. Pause now. Go hit your website and apply to any job at any level and count the number of steps. The second thing is, how do I improve it? Well, the first one's obvious. We just discussed it. You want to minimize the number of steps. Okay, but obviously, we want to engage those candidates. So how do we improve that? We have to start making our talent acquisition less about us and more about the candidate. Why is this? Because the second thing that's talked a lot about today is engagement, employee engagement. Well, that doesn't start when the employee comes into the organization. That engagement of your employees has to start well ahead of them actually being employed by your organization. So it begins with placing the candidate not as a resource that you're going to use for the advancement of your organization. Okay, that's a selfish, myopic view of bringing talent into your organization. You have to consider what these talented professionals or would-be professionals are doing to advance their career, what's motivating them, what are their career trajectory, what's their options, what is the type of value and education that they need to achieve these things. So that's what we need to do. We need to place ourselves in the shoes of that candidate and make the experience completely about them. Now, the first question is, well, how does that help my talent acquisition process? And it's very simple. If you know well all the elements of talent, including culture that we talked about the other day, then you're going to know exactly the type of candidate that you want to attract. And if you know the type of candidate you want to attract, then making it all about that candidate is a no-brainer. Okay, and then you're not serving yourself, and your organization, you're serving the candidate, and then extrapolates out to improving everything about your workforce, including the culture, including the engagement, when you bring those talented professionals into your organization. So go count the number of clicks and steps in your talent acquisition process. Do it right now, and then start to ask yourself the question, do we know everything about the types of candidates and the type of talent that we want to bring into the organization? If you do those two things, you will absolutely improve your process to bring new professional talent into your organization. Hey, one last thing. Hopefully you're enjoying these. If you are, why not consider subscribing to Cap's CarCast? Thanks, and we'll see you next time.